different. We're going to see if this works in OBS. So normally we use the Twitch Studio to do the export, but because I have this document, the Twitch Studio does not recognize this document in full scale. So we're trying this in OBS. We'll see how it looks. But anyway, this particular item I'm going to refer to as iRacing mathematics. In other words, how to plan a calendar. So to plan a calendar, the first thing that you have to do is recognize what series you want to race in. That aligns with goal setting. In a previous video, I have already defined those things. And now that the new update is down, mine was 5.5 gigs. I thought I would share a little insight to help you plan a calendar. So when it comes to planning a calendar, there's three big things. One is assess what you own already. Secondly, figure out what 2 or possibly 3 championships you want to participate in. And then determine how to minimize your cost with that. And so factoring time commitments and costs and all that, and to figure out what you need to buy. So this is why you need a little bit of planning. Now, one of the things I'm going to recommend to you is there is a wonderful site. I'm going to see if I can pull it up. Yep, I have it right there. Go to this link right there, and that updates every season. And what you can do is set the tracks you have, the cars you have, your favorite series, and it will tell you on a week by week basis what's coming up. With that said, though, you still need to figure out what your buy-in is. So we'll set the scene here. So I am all about the gyro. I am a 3.5 C license driver with a low I rating, and I have decided that the two main series that I'm wanting to participate in is the IMSA GT3 C license series that has GT3 cars so I can drive the Mercedes around, and the Spec Racing Ford, just because it's a lot of fun and I was having success in that car toward the end of last season. So I've already done what is probably one of the harder things to do, and that is I know what my two biggies are. Now, it's easy to go, I'm going to drive a little bit of everything. But I think for people that want to improve, they want to focus, I think no more than 2 is appropriate. Basically, I have that work-life schedule issue that I'm having to juggle. And it's also season 4 where you have holidays, you have year-end commitments with family and company and other hobbies, and they're all vying for your time, which is finite. So I figure if I teach somebody how to do a proper calendar plan, you're not going to get caught out. Share the knowledge, right? So what I've done is the first tab that you see, which you look, when I refer to tabs, I'm referring to this down here, is your MX5 rookie. So everybody on the service has this content if you have a membership with iRacing. And so what I do is I color code it. So you're going to see three main colors in this. Green is I have it. Red is I don't have it. And purple, you'll see later, purple is a special color that helps fill in some gaps. So what I did is I took the master calendar, I have copied, pasted this into a spreadsheet. I use Open Office. Excel works the same. Um, Apple products works the same. This as long as you have some type of spreadsheet application. And notice I have the four pieces of data. I know the week, the circuit that's being participated on, the conditions of said circuit, and the duration. So in this MX5, you'll see that we start at Tsukuba and we just work our way through content. Alton Park is brand new to the service, and Oran Park is a paid offering that they moved to the free part of the service. Both of these are superb and they're just fabulous. So, very excited about that. But basically, you have all this content. So, now you have an idea of what you're looking for. So, now you've picked your two or possibly three championships you want to contend in. And what you want to do now is when you do your survey of that championship, find the championship that you have to buy the most content for. And the reason is that is going to be your anchor point for all the other stuff that you may want to do as one or two offs for fun, but it also helps fill in whatever gaps you may have. So between the two, the INSA GT3 C license and the Spec Racing Ford, which is D license, the GT3 has a lot more holes in it. There's a lot more red. Red means you have to buy content. Your tracks are basically 12 bucks US. And so the idea is to be smart with your money, and when you do these purchases, do it in such a way where you maximize your savings. So if you buy three pieces of content on iRacing, you get a 10% discount. If you buy six pieces of content, you get a 15% discount. So, give you an example. If you buy three tracks and you do that with two transactions, your total cost is right around $80 or $81 US. But if you buy all six at once, it's around $75, $76 US. So there is a price break for buying in bulk. Now, that doesn't mean you should necessarily do that because you have financial considerations. So just be cognizant of that when you buy. Try very hard to buy in three or in six, just because you're going to maximize your rate of return. So, IMSA GT3, same like the example tab of the MX5 Rookie. I have my week, I have where I'm going to be at. The first is at Monza, the Grand Prix course, so that has the chicane before the Curva Grande and the chicane leading into Lesmos. I had to think of the corner. Lesmos 1 and Lesmos 2. So, I don't own that. So, I have to buy it. It has all my conditions. I know what my fuel numbers are. I'm intending to race the Merc GT3 this entire season. Um, Hopefully that doesn't change. They did make an aero change on the Merc. I think setup changes will help correct some of the differences that I'm finding. And it's a 60-minute race. So already, when I look at this in terms of time, that first week, because remember, time is also a cost, not just money, but time. So a 60-minute race means between qualifying and practice, you're looking at least 90 minutes to complete one event. So it is time consuming. So remember, time is a resource, and that has to be factored into the calculation. But basically what you do is you look at every circuit you don't have and you annotate it. Suzuka I don't own, Road Atlanta I don't own, Coda, but I do own the Roval. And you just go through and you nominate, okay, what am I missing? And then at the bottom I've put this text. I have to buy 9 tracks to participate in IMSA GT3. Because this is one of my 2 main championships, I know that is a good investment. I'm going to participate in every race, hopefully more than 4 times, because if you do it 5, you get the best 2 results average for your championship points. So I know I have 9 times, basically $15. Now, luckily, I don't need a car for this. I know what car I'm going to use. It's the Mercedes GT3. So, yes, that's a lot of money to be laying out. But as you will see when you start building your calendar of racing, the residual effects for that investment become less and less the more that you get into the service with iRacing. So, if you come over to Spec Racing Ford, notice some of it I already have, and some of it I don't. Specifically, just as a heads up, Mid Ohio is kind of an odd one. It doesn't come up very often at all versus all the others schedules I've looked at. So I know that's a painful cost I'm going to eat, and it's at week 2. So that is a pinch point because you get paid every 2 weeks. But I know it's coming. I know I got to eat the cost. So in Spec Racing Ford, you now see for the first time this purple. So what is purple in this schema? So purples are tracks that, because you purchase it for another series, is now available in this series. So Circuit Gilles Villeneuve, Road Atlanta, because of Petit Le Mans. That's why you're seeing Road Atlanta a lot. Petit Le Mans is in early October. Monza, because that's the first race of GT3. Phillip Island doesn't show up at all, and Spa doesn't show up at all. But the point is, if you were just to do Spec Racing Ford by yourself, I would have to buy 6 tracks. But I get a carryover 3. So once I buy the 3 over for GT3, I gain 3 weeks in essence on the house, because tracks are only purchased once. Doesn't matter what car you is, once you have that track, that's it. So I know for Spec Racing Ford specifically, I have three I have to purchase, and I have a running total. So I know, oh, it is 12 tracks that I must purchase to participate in this series. So the best way to keep that in mind is you're buying a track a week. Basically, it's you go out to dinner and you go out to any casual dining restaurant and you buy a drink, you're at 15 bucks these days. So you're substituting one of those for something that you're gonna be able to use more than once. So that's how you need to look at this. If you're a coffee person, it's 3 cups of Starbucks coffee. You're getting rid of overpriced coffee and you have a track and you're going to have a lot more use out of it. So, now let's look at benefits and drawbacks of this method. Benefits actually come in interesting ways. So, you will notice that the schedules have some parallelism in it. So, the next two tabs, the Ferrari GT3 Fix, which has returned, and then the Audi GT4 TCR car, is brand new. So they're both D-license events. And now you'll see the benefit of the tracks you bought in your two main series. So here for me in GT3 Fixed, I have to buy Brands Hatch, but Suzuka I get because I've bought it before. I have to buy both Watkins Glen, and that is not an error. The Legacy Silverstone track is like $5 now. But note that this is not my primary series. So if I bought just the Ferrari GT3 for $12, which I think is going to be a popular purchase, these are 15-minute races. So I can run 9 of the 12 weeks in this, and the only thing I'm paying is $12. Why? Because I already have the content. So here's an example where, oh, I buy a car and I have a 75% full schedule. And the nice thing about this is these are 15 minutes. So those longer races we have, remember with IMSA GT3 and with Spec Racing Ford, they're every other hour and they run at the same time. That's why in one of the previous videos, you saw that Monday, Wednesday was Spec Racing Ford, Tuesday, Thursday was GT3. Here's why. You have a schedule that doesn't mesh very well. So, looking at content to drive, the GT3 Fixed, a Ferrari, serves two purposes. One, it's a cheap investment of $12 to race a 3/4 series. And because you're practicing with the Mercedes, you now have that direct comparison. Let's say with the aero changes with the Mercedes, it's made the car terrible. You now have a backup plan, and that is you're going to race the Ferrari just because you spent the $12. And when you're filling out your racing calendar, you're able to participate in this. This is half an hour of real time between qualifying the practice session. You're looking at half an hour investment. And now those times fill in when you're waiting that, hour and a half, give or take? Here you go. So, bang for buck, Ferrari GT3 Fixed in this example is my bang for buck. Now, for open wheel cars, you'll have similar parallels. So, keep that in mind. So, if you commit to, let's say, Skippies, the knock on effects you'll see in the other junior open formulas, like your Formula Renault 2.0, your USF 2000, Pro Mazda, etc. So be cognizant of that. Now, another benefit for me is the Audi GT4 TCR. So you have the Touring Car Challenge, brand new to iRacing. And when doing the same exercise, note, yes, I'm missing Brands Hatch again, but missing Watkins Glen, missing Silverstone, it's the same thing. For if I buy the car, I now have a 75% schedule. It's also 15 minutes. And if I notice the three tracks that I just showed here are the same three tracks that I'm missing in Ferrari GT3. So here's where that strategy thing really takes hold. Let's say you're close on safety rating, whether you're trying to keep a license or get that license bump. You've met your minimum race participation. Let's say you're in week 11. You got to do that grind. Or let's say that you've found a liking with one of these two cars. Here's a way where with a little bit of practice you get with buying the car for $12 and a little bit of time investment, you can easily get a bump to your I rating. And you've already put your money up front, and now you're living off the residuals. It's just like investing. The smart people, they're not living off the investment, they're living off of the interest and the residuals. Think of it this way. So here's the benefits. Now, the nice thing about iRacing mathematics when it comes to time and money is it will show you things that you want to participate in, but it's probably not going to happen. Let's talk the VRS 3-hour series. So this is the 180-minute series. You have to have two drivers. And before we saw the residuals, here's where you find out you have a clash. Because you're going to notice there's a lot of red in this. And there are circuits that, like Zandvoort, it doesn't show up anywhere so far. Sonoma, Donington Park, Zolder, Catalunya, Brands Hatch. So when you do this analysis, notice I've put a comment. I'm carrying over 3 from IMSA GT3. There's none from Spec Racing 4. So I now have to buy 6 tracks. That's a $75 investment to race in this series, given I purchased the 12 before. This is painful. So now I know, okay, if I really want to do this, I'm going to have to pick and choose. Because keep in mind, I've already paid for 12 and maybe 2 cars. You're looking at north of $200 US. So this is where this tells you, wait a minute, I'm having a big clash. So there's some decisions that have to be made about this. So you go and look at this. Okay, Catalunya, okay. Brands Hatch Grand Prix, probably races okay. But Zandvoort is tight. Sonoma Raceway is tight. Zolder's tight. I may not race a lot in this series because why buy the extra content now when it's not my focus? Remember, our focus is the IMSA Online Sports Car Championship and Spec Racing Ford. The residuals don't work in our favor here, so don't force the issue. Save your hard-earned money and time. Because here's the other cost. It's a 3-hour race. Think about all the practice you got to do. It's on the weekend, so you got to schedule. So, if you have a wife, a girlfriend, a boyfriend, a husband, a partner, yeah, you got to negotiate that a little bit. So be cognizant of that. So this method really tells you the traps to avoid. Let's use another example here, the skippies. So if I want to race skippies because they're every hour, they would serve to fill in certain gaps. Let's say I wanted to race a skippy as a change of pace. Now doing the same analysis, keeping IMSA, GT3, and the Spec Racing Ford, those are my bases. I see that, oh, look at all this content, right? Most Sport, that's Canadian Tire Motorsports Park to me is Most Sport. You have Watkins Glen to buy, you have VIR, you have Belle Isle, Zolder, Donington Park, and Mount Panorama. I haven't seen some of those circuits anywhere until now. I have 7 tracks I got to purchase. So I now know, okay, I'm not going to invest too much in the skippies. It's just going to be a nice change of pace. Same thing with the Advanced Mazda series. With Advanced Mazda series, I have similar things where I would have to purchase 5. So, and the thing about Advanced Mazda is Advanced Mazda, you have the 25-minute race, but you have a couple of 45-minute ones. So your time cost for the 45-minute one, your time cost, you look at qualifying and practice is an hour minimum. For a series that is not your mainline series, it's not even your second line series. So yeah, if I race Advanced Mazda, I'm looking at Suzuka in the Grand Prix layout of the Nürburgring and Phillip Island. Some point as well. Why? It's 25 minutes. It's an easily managed thing. Radicals gets a lot of benefits from the residuals. You would only have to buy Barber. I don't know why Mount Panorama is marked here in red. That should be red. So let me correct that. Most Sport and Watkins Glen, same thing. You'll be able to have certain weeks. So for a new streamer like myself, new content creator like myself, this is the things I'm looking for is change of pace to where, oh, he's not just doing GT3 and Spec Racing Ford, there's some other stuff. And so to finish up, you have the 12.0 challenge, which if I was going to do it, it's not a bad buy-in. I'm probably not going to do it. Be 3 required to purchase. If I did the Michelin Pilot GT4, I have 3 I would need to purchase. And then if I did the if I chose for some reason to do the SimLab production car, which I'm not going to do, I would have 3 tracks to purchase as well. So, but I think you got the point. Purchase when you do this, you have to figure out if I'm going to maximize my return. Like in this case, there's 12. Can I get away with buying 6 and 6 because of schedule? Or am I going to have to buy all 12 at once just because of schedule? So scheduling is going to determine a lot. So here's an exercise for me. So I have Monza, Suzuka, Road Atlanta, Coda, and Interlagos the first 6 weeks of the calendar. When I come over to Spec Racing Ford, What I'm looking for is things that match up in the first 6 weeks. Well, Mid Ohio wasn't on that list, but for Spec Racing Ford, Road Atlanta showed up. So, already on my radar, I have to get Road Atlanta has to be in that first group of purchases. So, if I do split purchases, Road Atlanta has to be there. So, I already know I got to do Mid Ohio. And so, my first set of purchases are these 5 in Mid Ohio. And now I have the first part of my calendar to week 4 sorted out. So my first month is sorted out when I buy those 6. I'm going to have to buy Gilles Villeneuve. So that's 7. But then I'm squared away. Week 6 is covered. So for the first 4 weeks, I can buy 6 and get my foot in the door financially. I don't have to buy all 12 at once. I can buy what I need knowing the magic number is 6. And I'm going to get a discount. So I'm buying for GT3. So 5 in GT3, but I mean, Monza's an F1 track, Suzuka's an F1 track, Coda's an F1 track, Interlagos is an F1 track. So you know they're going to those tracks are going to come up over and over again. Having to buy Mid Ohio sucks. It sucks to the point where if I wasn't serious about this, I wouldn't buy it. I would skip that week and put my money somewhere else. But because I'm serious as Spec Racing Ford, yeah, gotta bite the bullet. And then when you look at the back side, I have Phillip Island and Spa toward the very end. So I don't have to buy those immediately. I can defer. Looking at GT3, Gilles Villeneuve is in week 8. When you look at Gilles Villeneuve and Spec Racing 4, it's week 5. They're 3 weeks apart. Yeah, you got to bite the bullet because you're doing Spec Racing Ford. But outside of that, Gilles Villeneuve is the sticky point in this. But otherwise, you're in pretty good shape financially. So using that 6, so we're going to give this a different color. I'm going to give this a different color because we now know the first 6 we got to buy. And so this is where you know what you need to buy. So that one, and let's do that. Come over to SRF. Yeah, we got to buy that. We know it blows, but hey, that's life, right? So I've got to buy that. I don't have a choice. So I have these 5 right there. I come over. There's my 6. In Mid Ohio, I don't know. I don't know if we're gonna race that because it just doesn't fit right now. But now you know. Now you know. I can go. Okay, I gotta buy this, and here's what's going to happen. So let me color code this back to red so I don't get confused. So in closing, keep in mind that doing this is going to save money. You'll be able to budget because, all of us are working hard these days. Money is tight everywhere. We want to be smart with our money. And this is the method that I'm using. Okay, that one's red, and I need to make sure that this one gets back to red. And so, yeah, this is the method I'm using to figure out how we're going to afford it. And, you know, there's a certain art to this. The last thing I want to show, other races. So here's where, if you're like me who wants to do endurance races. So Bathurst, I need the car plus the track plus practice. And that is coming up in a couple weeks. Hence the question mark. Petit Le Mans, I just need the track and practice. I already have the Merc for that. And then you have the VLN, the last one of the year, the Nürburgring. We have two cars we can choose from, the Merc and the Mazda MX-5. We have the Nordschleife combined, and I have been practicing. Last practice, I was a minute faster than the other MX-5, so I was really happy about that. But keep in mind, that is a time and a money cost. So anyway, I'm going to conclude this here. Thank you so much for listening and the like. And make sure you like, follow, subscribe. You know the drill. And I'll see you in the next one.